Welcome to the Better Brave podcast, where you get to hear unique stories from guests like you who choose to live bravely outside of their comfort zones. I'm Candace Dudley, your host, former teacher turned online business mentor and podcaster. This podcast is for you if you're committed to living life on purpose, no more following the rules of society. Go hit the follow button if you haven't yet, and tune in every Tuesday for a new episode. You are going to love the conversation I just had with Aashima Verma. She is the daring and visionary director and CEO of AV Marketing Inc., a business she has scaled to over $1 million in just 3 short years. Recently nominated for the SME Small Business of the Year and Young Entrepreneur of the Year award, Aashima is a shining example of courage, determination, and entrepreneurial spirit. With nearly a decade of experience in the marketing industry, she's a true maverick with an unwavering passion for all things marketing, lead generation, and funnels. Aashima's expertise knows no bounds as she helps businesses across various industries, from coaching and e-commerce to beauty and franchises, grow and scale using the power of marketing and advertising. Her innovative strategies and relentless drive have propelled countless businesses to new heights of success. But beyond the boardroom, Aashima is a true introvert at heart, finding solace and inspiration in the tranquility of a spa and the pages of a good book. You guys, you're going to love this conversation we just had. If you're someone that is starting or wanting to start a business and you're not sure where to spend your time or where to start with your marketing, this episode is for you. Enjoy. So go ahead and tell us a bit about where are you now and how did you get into entrepreneurship?
I have just completed a little bit over 3 years in full-time entrepreneurship. For those of you who don't know, I own a marketing agency specializing in Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn ads are relatively new. But how did I get here? That's a great question. So the first time I ran ads was 8 years ago, and I was studying marketing management. I was just going through a process of elimination after my bachelor's in commerce. I was like, what is it that I want to specialize in? I've always been that kid. I'll do a few things really, really well. And I was like, oh, what's that in this world of commerce? I knew it wasn't finance. I knew it wasn't accounting. And then I was like, oh, business studies. That's cool. And then I'm like, marketing. That's awesome. So that was where I was like, okay. And then I did a course online literally 8 to 9 years ago now in social media management. And I was like, this is something that I want to study. And that was it. It was truly a bolt went off. And I was like, okay, this is what I want to learn about. Started studying, got hired right away through my school for a small jewelry business. That person went on to Dragon's Den, which is our version of Shark Tank. And that was just awesome. And then I ended up getting a job at an ad agency, which was also really great. And it was one of the best co-ops in my school. And then I was like, I might be good at this. And then I just honestly started attracting clients, even without trying, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I'm playing it modest. I thought I needed to have a full-time job. That was my assumption, but also it was true because I just moved to Canada around the time for my education. And then to get my permanent residence, I had to have a job. So I didn't even properly entertain the idea of business ownership. To me, it was just doing something on the side to pay off my student loan, which I did within the first 2-3 years of doing my business on the side. And then I was like, what am I doing? I should go full time.
What was that moment like for you, or how did you get to that realization of this is not a side business anymore? This is time to jump into this is the business. What was that like?
I just remember it so clearly. You have whispers and then they become really loud. That was my experience, my intuition. At the time, I did not know, but I thought it was intuition. It was just so strong. I'm also usually a very logical person. So I remember being at this cafe/restaurant in a small town because I needed some time away, on a solo day. And I had my journal with me. I'd ordered an appetizer and I was like, Aashima, what are you doing? And then I still do this to this day. But I write down how much money I was making from my clients. And then I totaled it. And it was, I remember definitely over 10K, but closer to 17K at the time per month. And I'm like, and my salary wasn't paying me that at all. So I was like, what the hell? Why? This is stupid if I don't pursue this. And honestly, it was a calculated risk. I said, I'm going to give myself 6 months. 6 months of trying. I had clients locked in for this retainer too for 6 months. So it just felt safe enough to jump in. And I was like, you know what? I know I am pretty good at what I do. So even if it doesn't work out, I can always get a job. Everything else is history. It's really cool.
That's awesome. It sounds like when you really learned that that was what you were meant to do, it's just like all the pieces just fell into place. And it was like the universe was affirming, like, yes, go down this path. Yes, this is easy. Yes, you are good at this. And that's pretty amazing.
For me, my identity has been wrapped up for a very long time. Like I was a good marketer. I am still a great marketer, but now I'm also an exceptional agency owner.
Mm,
That's what I tell myself.
yeah.
So initially I was just like, oh, I'm a marketing specialist. Every time that's what I said, I'm a marketing specialist. And there were always two paths. Like I could be a great employee or I run my own business doing the same thing in my head at least. And I wanted to try both. I think there are
Mm,
people who like jump into entrepreneurship, which like for some people that works, but for me, where I come from, I just needed that stability and security as well. So, and it was honestly the whole 5 to 9 before 9 to 5, like that works. So that's how it started.
And that identity piece speaks to me so much because I was a teacher before this. And I think I even found myself, even after leaving the classroom, answering the question, like, well, what do you do? As, oh, I'm a former teacher or I used to teach.
Yeah.
It's just stepping into that identity. And it's so interesting once you do, like you mentioned, you can be both. Your identity can be whatever you decide,
Mhm.
but we have maybe a narrow view of it can be this or that and nothing else because of maybe the way the world is set up or how we grew up or different programming that we've subscribed to over the years. But it's really interesting when that light bulb goes off where we realize we don't actually have to do that and we can decide whatever identity we want for ourselves. That's pretty powerful.
It is. I did not understand the importance of identity work like my coach and mentor. And she says, like, you cannot outperform your self image.
Mm,
And for the longest time, I got it, but I did not get it. I
mm,
don't know how to explain. I was like, self image, which is the image of self, like in
yeah.
our mind, like in my mind, how I view myself. As I said, I always viewed myself as an advertiser, as a marketer,
Yeah.
not an agency owner doing, what I do now. And it was a subtle shift. I feel like I'm in the middle of an identity shift right now
Mm,
as well. So it's just interesting. I don't want to believe it. Like the logical person in me, that part of me does not want to believe the mindset work is that important, but it
mm.
truly is.
It really is. I feel you with the identity shift or identity crisis or however we want to think about it. But when you're on a path of growth, like you are, and like most entrepreneurs are, because it's really the only way to keep growing and keep succeeding, it seems like there are more identity shifts that happen. Whereas if you stay in a 9 to 5 job, you really don't need to have an identity shift. You just get to comfortably or sometimes uncomfortably stay in that.
Mm.
But in this world that we're in, it's a lot different because of the growth and inner growth specifically that continues to happen. So it can feel scary, don't you think?
Oh, every day, every day. Yesterday, I was attempting to make like an Asian dish, like a chow mein, and I've like never made it before. And it was the weekend, and I really was craving to do something like different out of the ordinary. And I tried to attempt it, and I was like boiling the noodles. And then when I had to strain them, it like fell off into the sink. And I was like, no, why am I even attempting this? I'm not good at it. And like, it was so interesting to hear myself because these are the same doubts. I literally said word for word, why am I even attempting it? I know I'm
Mm.
going to fail.
Ah,
And I just like this moment, like, first of all, it's just an experiment. Like, it's okay. You can always order takeout.
right.
Second, I asked my partner to help me out because it was hot and everything. And I was still like prepping the veggies. It was literally 2 minutes of his like help and support. And he helped me with the noodles. And then in the end, it turned out to be so good. Both of us were like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And that was like such a good example for me
Hmm.
because I thought I couldn't do it because I've never attempted it before. But I followed the steps. There was a little bit of intuition. And I watched recipes like online, like I watched YouTube videos, but I kind of like trusted myself and I went with
Yeah.
it. And it was so yummy in the end. And it was like the perfect metaphor for me. You have to attempt, one step after the other, keep doing the thing, and then you'll get there.
Mm,
Yeah.
yes, I love it. And that you don't have to be perfect the first go around, that it's okay to experiment, like you said, and learn things as you go. I love that. Let's
Yeah.
dive into a little bit of your expertise and tell us a bit about what are kind of the most common mistakes you see people making with their marketing. I think sometimes, especially as a solopreneur, we wear
Mm,
all the hats. And so marketing can feel daunting. At least it does for me sometimes, or like, I don't know what I should post or what I should do or where I should spend my time. What are some of those mistakes that you see people making?
This might be controversial, but I do feel like I want to say this and share this. A lot of people place too much importance on marketing to the point it paralyzes them to
Mm.
act and just test. So I had this rule, and because of my career, I worked with like literally like the biggest accounts, like truly celebrities. And I've also worked with solopreneurs who have like smaller following. And something that I've noticed is that there is no relationship between how many followers you have and how much money you make. Someone out there who's just thinking like, oh, I only have like 500 followers. What am I even doing attempting this? I have like 2,500, under 3,000 followers, and I have made almost 1.5 million in last 3-ish years. If I truly just looked at, a function of followers, it is not. Also, like to get to these numbers, like you don't need thousands of followers to get to your result. Marketing can be done in a micro one-on-one way as well. Social media marketing is obviously an amazing tool, but the pressure of going viral is just killing our creativity, honestly, because we're optimizing for these vanity metrics and not necessarily sales. In general, the number one mistake that people are making is that they're making the content for views and not sales. According to me, as an expert service provider, I think that you need to have a lot more thought leadership content in addition to your how-tos, or in addition to like just random lifestyle content. Like you need to show up as the authority that you are. If you're working with clients, show the clients, or like not exactly. A lot of times I don't share the name of the client, but I share the stories, the case studies, and I think that is truly what gets me calls or gets us clients. And I had this rule and it worked out for me. So I would just like to offer it to someone who's like between that 0 to 6 figures revenue range. I said this to myself all the time, like conversions before content. Just get the sale and then you can work on marketing, because for the first 6 figures, I say it specifically to whoever's listening in that range, you need to have some proof of concept. Like, hey, whatever I'm doing is going to convert. I would focus more on the one-on-one chats, the networking events, closing the sale based on your expertise first before I go like, oh, I'm spending 60% of my time in marketing. I think sales and marketing are also two different things, also something that people forget.
Do you want to explain the difference for us?
Of course, if your company is like, I want to say 500K and above, obviously you have different team members for those two different departments. But as a solopreneur, sales is getting someone who's like basically raised their hand, they've shared interest in what you do, and then you take them from that position of like interested to paid/bought. That journey of nurturing them, getting them to buy, those touch points, however you do it, that's sales. But getting someone who's a stranger to the point of them saying, I am interesting, to the point of them raising their hand, like, oh, I would love to work with you, or I'm interested, I'm curious, that's marketing. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, it is. It kind of splits it in half instead of lumping it all together, of like getting someone to come aware of you all the way to buying is not just one thing. That's very helpful. So you mentioned starting with that conversion piece. Is that starting with the sales chunk half of it and focusing there? And if so, where would someone start? Say they're in that beginning solopreneur part and they're trying to build a business. You mentioned some one-on-one things. How do you recommend going about that?
This is how I did it, and it doesn't have to be your way. I always say this, maybe because I'm in like the agency world and we serve clients one-on-one a lot. One size fits one. So everything that I am saying, it might be helpful, but you know your strengths the best. Like, let's say if I was a video editor and I was like extremely good on camera or like content, doubling down on content does make sense for you. But if you're like the average people and you're good at what you actually do, then in that case, I would start with building genuine relationships versus like getting the sale. I feel like building relationships, I think podcast is a great place because you do get to do that. I think another thing that I would try is showing up to events with this attitude of giving or adding value. I think a
Mm,
lot of times one of the first few projects that I got was because I was a part of communities, paid or free actually, or online or in person, where I just like offered to help. I think that's where it started. I love the concept of like charging your word and then add tax. I am like so down for it. But if you're also between 0 to like 100K range,
hmm.
you need to price effectively so that you can get some clients while covering your costs and making some profit. And then, increasing your rates when you have
Yeah.
more demand. Get the testimonials in, get those services. Word of mouth goes so beyond, especially in that stage. Like, do good
Hmm.
work, people tell other friends. Like, I think that has been my strategy that definitely got me to six figures. Like, I just did great work. And then obviously post about the work that you're doing.
I think those two things go hand in hand. Like when you do such a great job, of course, we've all probably experienced where, let's say, somebody power washed our house. I don't know. And it's like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, this is amazing. It changed my life. And you're going to tell everybody. And
Yep.
that's so powerful because that's how we were connected is
Mm-hmm.
I know someone that you know, and I trust everything because I just love what she's about. And she was like, oh, yep, talk to her, get her on the show. And I didn't even look you up. I didn't question anything. I just was like, yep, send me your email. Let's make it happen. Let's set it up. And that's just how it kind of goes. But I think we forget that and we think that it has to be social media. We have to be on there. And like you said, it's fantastic and it's a great tool. But yeah, let's not forget about that piece. You have scaled your own business. What's the
Yeah.
secret to scaling to the size that you have scaled to with your own business?
Great question. It's hard to like pinpoint, but for me, my personal secret has just been investing in this business. I recently started investing my money in stocks, etc. And oh my God, the way people celebrate 10% increase is wild. I'm like, meanwhile, in my world, we're generating like 3x, 5x, 10x, 13x return on people's investment. And if you are in this online coaching bubble, you are expecting a lot more than like an average business person from your business. My personal secret has just been investing or reinvesting in my business, my own growth as well. I truly believe that you have to find your own communities. Most of my clients, that's how I've met them. I've been in great communities. I've also been in communities, unfortunately, where I was like, you're not my people. They're great, but
Hmm.
these are not my people. So having the discernment and investing in communities where you might find your ideal people, it's not really with an intention of like closing them, but if you have great people around you, there is truth in the whole saying of, hey, if you're amongst these five people who are already millionaires, you're gonna be the sixth, I guess.
Right. Oh, yeah. No, I believe that for sure. I know
Mhm.
you teach on lead generations and funnels. How important are those pieces when we're starting a new business?
Oh, everything. That is one thing that's consistent. Like you need leads in order to have sales. It's just facts.
Yeah.
But as your account grows, because we work with a lot of like seven-figure coaches and companies, even eight, nine-figure companies now. At that scale, the formula is more visibility, more leads, and more sales. That's the 1, 2, 3 framework. Like you need
Okay.
visibility, which will generate leads, leads will generate sales. The thing that people don't specify is that you need quality lead gen. You need the right traffic. The amount of people or clients who come to me just scarred from other ad agencies, like, oh, like I had 10,000 people visit my website, got no sale. That's just insane. And that's like the number one thing that I have seen. Like, it's not enough to just run an ad campaign or to like just market your business or just go viral.
Maybe like a quick example of what a funnel might look like for someone that's starting.
Such a good question because first of all, I did a recent presentation at this event called Rise Above Summit, and the topic was the fun and funnels. I think it might be helpful for your listeners to get the slides because it was just like so information packed. So I'm happy to share those slides with you later too.
We'll link it in the show notes.
The biggest thing was that's what I said. Like your funnel could be as simple as someone finds you online or in person books a call with you, you convert them on the call, and that's it. That could truly be the funnel. And then hopefully you upsell them into more services while they're your client. That is also a funnel. First of all, the more complex one could obviously be you have an enrollment event, meaning you have a webinar or workshop or something along those lines. We call them enrollment events. You do it on a scale. You go from 1-to-1, that 1-to-1 sales call becomes 1-to-many, education plus pitching / sales call. And then hopefully, they buy right away with a click, or you again do the sales call with your sales team, and then that's how you convert them. Both are funnels. It could be as simple as the first one, or it could be as complex or as big as like having a webinar with like 10,000 registrations. We help people with both.
Awesome. Is there anything else you want to touch on with the sales, marketing, any of that type of thing that we haven't said yet?
A lot of people underestimate how important these like little pieces in your funnel are, even if it's a simple page to like book a call, or even if it's a simple page to opt in for your webinar, or the thank you page. I think people forget one, the whole journey needs to be consistent, whether that's branding, whether that's your messaging, all of those pieces. It should be literally like different pages of the same book. That's how beautifully it should just convey the message that you're trying to convey. I see a lot of people not utilizing their thank you page effectively. I have a couple posts on it too, but I always say like give them clear next steps. Number 1, add to calendar. Number 2, watch this video from me. Number 3, like download worksheet, something along those lines, or like join my Facebook group. It's such a big one. I feel like people are underestimating the importance of thank you pages or like the follow-up funnels. Like it's not enough to just get a lead. Like lead has to be nurtured on your story. Like before they even hop on that sales call, like they need to know what you're about.
What can the listeners look out for that you have going on maybe this summer, or if they want to connect with you, where can they find you?
I am testing or running an experiment, really. I am planning to launch a course down the line, potentially in September. So currently, I've never done this before, but I am offering done with me ads at mentorship. I only have 2 spots open. So it's like a 90-day mentorship program where you work one-on-one with me to run your own ads. We obviously do done for you ad management, which is amazing. It's for anyone who's like doing 500K and above annually. But done with you, you learn the skill set of doing ads for you, for yourself or your clients. And I think it's really helpful for small businesses to learn that skill early on so that they don't depend on going viral and doing all of these things and like not being present with their families and the actual thing that they, wanted in the first place.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for being on. This was so helpful. Where can we find you and follow along with your story?
The first place that you can find everything about what I do is like my website. It's www.aashima.com. So that's my name, Aashima Verma. You can also follow along on LinkedIn or Instagram. I usually hang out on Instagram more than I do on LinkedIn, but I love both of these platforms.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're going to link all of that in the show notes, as well as the resources that you mentioned. We'll link that in the show notes. You just gave us so much knowledge here in just a short bit of time. So thanks so much for being on.
You're so welcome.
Hey, thanks for being here. I love being able to highlight entrepreneurial journeys because no two are the same. To grab my free sales page planner or to book a discovery call with me, head to the show notes. Finally, please leave a quick review so I can continue this work. See you next week.